Hi, this is Katherine Scott with DrillingContractor.org. I'm here with Dave Burnham, Vice President for International Operations of Check 6. Today I'm talking with Dave about his experience in the U.S. Navy and how he's applying that to the oil and gas industry. Thanks for joining us today, Dave.
It's my pleasure.
So let's start off by talking about the U.S. Navy's nuclear power program. There's 6 pillars, as I understand, to this program. Can you kind of walk us through those 6 and then tell us how it has enabled the program to keep nuclear incident free?
Okay, the Navy had to change its culture. From the beginning, coming out of World War II, it was a very vertical command structure. It wasn't really oriented around teamwork. With the advancement in the nuclear technology, they really needed to create a system where it was teamwork driven and everybody was backing each other up. So the number one pillar was integrity. They wanted people to not only do the right thing because it was the right thing to do, but to understand that they had to do the best they could at every time because the rest of the crew and the ship was depending on them. Everybody was as important as anyone else, and it was critical for them to do everything at the highest level of integrity. The next one was formalized communication. They wanted everyone to say things in the same way every time and use the same terms and the same approved acronyms. They wanted this to be done much like in the cockpit of an airliner where you have a challenge and reply checklist. They wanted them to do this so that it would reduce the chance of a miscommunication or misunderstanding or an order being given that wasn't completely understood. The next thing was a level of knowledge. The level of knowledge was extremely important because the increase in technological advancement with nuclear power plants over the previous generation where it was oil-fired steam boilers. Now they had to understand the systems, understand how they operated, and understand when there was a problem developing when it was still small and manageable. So they wanted to continuously train the workforce, to refresher training, and then to, at regular intervals, measure the level of knowledge of each of the crew members. The next pillar would be procedural compliance. The procedures were written by the engineers that designed the equipment, and all the parameters that were understood would be in the procedure. They wanted everybody to do operations the same way, by the same standard every time. So it was critical that the crew followed the procedures, and if there was a reason for a deviation, it had to go through a very strict approval process before a change could be made to a procedure. The next thing is more of a culture shift, and it was a forceful team backup. And what the basis of that is they wanted everyone that was involved in an operation to be part of that operation. They wanted them to listen, to watch, and to understand what was supposed to happen and the indications that something might not be happening correctly. And they were empowered to speak up, and things were supposed to stop until it was corrected, and then they'd move on. But that was a key thing, and you wouldn't see that in the older Navy culture, where things were, orders were given, and things were done, and no questions were asked. And the next pillar is part of that culture shift is questioning attitude. They wanted every sailor from the most junior all the way up to the senior officers to approach things with a questioning attitude. They wanted them to be looking at things as mechanical equipment, switch positions, valve positions, and always asking themselves, is that correct? When I manipulate a switch, is the indication what I expected? Is this equipment in the right place? And asking those questions, they'd always be kind of checking themselves. And if a junior sailor asked a senior officer a question, that officer had the responsibility to explain the equipment and make that junior sailor a better sailor. But that one time out of 10 that thing was not the way it was supposed to be, that young guy would be the hero of the day, and that was encouraged. So that's pretty much the 6 pillars of the Navy nuclear power